In this tutorial, I'll be using some DK weight yarn, a pair of scissors, a 2.25mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle, a piece of scrap yarn to use as a stitch marker, a little bit of polyester stuffing, a pair of 3mm glass eyes, and a fine tip pen. Take your yarn and make a slip knot. Leave a long tail to weave in later. Chain 2 and turn your work. Work in that first chain that you made in the back loop and make 6 single crochet. Pull on the yarn tail to tighten up the gap in row 1. Work 6 single crochet in the back loops only. I'm working around the tail of my yarn just to make sure that it's extra secure. Use your fingers to separate rows 1 and 2. Use a stitch marker to mark the last stitch of row 2. Row 3 is worked in both loops. I'm going to start by making an increase and then a single crochet. Work an increase and then a single crochet 3 times for a total of 9 stitches. I'm going to use one tail end of my stitch marker and pull it through the last stitch of each row. When I'm finished, I'll be able to pull the stitch marker out of my crochet piece. Now increase and do 2 single crochet 3 times for a total of 12 stitches. In this row, I've stopped working over my yarn tail so that it's long enough for me to sew in later. Start row 5 with an increase and then a single crochet. You should work this 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. In row 6, work 18 single crochet all the way around. After you readjust your stitch marker, pull out a little bit of yarn with your working yarn and sew in your yarn tail. Row 7 starts off with 6 single crochet. After you've worked your 6 single crochet, you'll be doing a special stitch for this pattern called a 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. This involves working 4 double crochet into one stitch. So I yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's hard to say. Now I'm going to do that 3 more times for a total of 4 double crochet. And when I'm done with the last double crochet, I'm going to carefully remove my hook and kind of pull up that loop. Then I'll insert my hook into the first double crochet that I made. And I'll slip that loop back there and pull it through the first double crochet. And that's how you do a double crochet popcorn stitch. Now work 4 single crochet. After those 4 single crochet, it's time for another 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. This will make up the ears of the pig. Now work 6 single crochet. This will finish off row 7, giving you a total of 18 stitches in the row. Start row 8 with 16 single crochet. Make sure that you work into each double crochet popcorn stitch. When I was first making this pattern, I noticed that I kept forgetting to work in the back of these stitches, and I would end up with too few stitches at the end of a row. Now work a 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. Finish off row 8 with 1 single crochet. Begin row 9 with a single crochet. I'm just going to move my stitch marker up to mark the last stitch of row 8 because I didn't do that before starting row 9. Now work a 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. Work 16 single crochet to finish off row 9. Rows 10 and 11 are just 18 single crochet around. So I'm going to speed through these 2 rows, and if you're following along with this video, just pause here and I'll be right back with the end of row 11. Now I'm finishing up row 11 and readjusting my stitch marker, so it's time to get started with row 12. First I'm going to work 17 single crochet and then a 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. I'll have 18 stitches at the end of this row. So in the last stitch of this row, I'll be doing a 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. Row 13 starts with 2 single crochet. Then I'll do a 4 double crochet popcorn stitch to make the last foot of the pig. This will be the last 4 double crochet of popcorn stitch of the whole pattern, and the rest will just be single crochet and single crochet decreases. Right now I'm just finishing up my 4 double crochet popcorn stitch, and after that I'll be working 15 single crochet. Row 13 should have a total of 18 stitches at the end of the row. Row 14 will be the first row that I'm going to start decreasing in, and I'm going to be doing invisible decreases. So for row 14, I'm going to do a decrease, then a single crochet 6 times for a total of 12 stitches. As you can see, I'm doing an invisible decrease and then a single crochet. I'm making sure that I work into those loops left from the 4 double crochet popcorn stitch. It's a little tricky for me to do the invisible decreases with such a tiny hook, but I think it makes the amigurumi just look a lot nicer at the end. So you can always do a regular single crochet decrease if you want to. After readjusting my stitch marker in this row, I'm going to pull up a little bit of yarn from my working yarn and just take out my hook and start getting out my stuffing. If you've ever had issues with your stuffing showing through your amigurumi in the past, it might be from overstuffing. So I'll give you a few tips to kind of help you along with the whole amigurumi stuffing process. I know I struggled with it a lot when I first began. So first, I'm taking really tiny pieces of the stuffing and putting them into the smaller areas of my amigurumi. So for that little snout area, I took really small pieces. Then I stuff some larger pieces for the center. And then as I got towards the back, I took more little pieces again and really squished them in, kind of turning the amigurumi as I put in the stuffing. Your amigurumi should feel firm but still squishy. Now I'm inserting my hook and starting row 6, which is 6 decreases. So I should have a total of 6 stitches at the end of this row. This is the last row of the pig, so when you're finished, you can leave a long tail and cut your yarn. Sorry for any weird noises that you might hear from here on out in this tutorial. My dog decided to come sit next to me and he's a little noisy. I love using a yarn stitch marker because it's so satisfying to get to your final row and then just slide it out. A lot of the time I'll underestimate how much yarn I actually need to finish off my amigurumi, so it's always better to just overestimate and cut a really long tail. I always need to remind myself of that. I'm using the amigurumi finish method to close up row 14. So basically I slide my needle underneath the front loop only and keep doing that kind of loosely. And when I'm finished, I pull it really tight and do a knot and kind of put my needle through like the tiny hole that's left. Now I'm going to make the pig's tiny tail. I'm chaining 9 and I'm going to turn and work in the second chain from the hook. I'll do 2 slip stitches in that second chain and I'm working in the back loops. After those 2 slip stitches, I'll do 1 slip stitch. And I'll keep doing this 4 times. After that, I'll finish it off and leave long tails for sewing it onto my pig. Switching between a slip stitch and a slip stitch increase gives the piece a little bit of a curl so that it kind of looks like a pig's curly tail. Attach the tail between rows 13 and 14. I'm using glass eyes, which I'll link down below if you want to use them on your pig, but if you don't have them on hand, you can always use embroidery floss or yarn, even felt or beads. But I like how these look. I think they look pretty cute and they're super easy to use. I'm going to use a fine tip pen to draw the little nostril details on the snout of my pig. If you don't have a fine tip pen on hand, you can always use some embroidery floss, but I like this just because it's quick and easy. It may not be the most perfect method for doing it, but I think the results are pretty good. Always make sure to let your drawing dry a little bit. I didn't do that and I got some ink all over my fingers. Here's what your finished pig should look like. Ever since I first found this pattern, I can't stop making them. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.